will be held or will be on Museum of the African Diaspora's YouTube channel for you to watch later. I'm going to start off by telling us a little bit about Shenequa. Again, there's no way that I can be comprehensive, but hopefully the conversation gets us a clearer picture of who this genius is that we're able to share space with. I want to also invite folks throughout to chime in if you have questions, if you have comments. We're virtual, but please be interactive. Use the chat box, use the Q&A. You can, as questions arise for you, please, I invite you to add them into the Q&A and we'll get to them in the last portion of the conversation. So without further ado, welcome to our third edition of In the Artist Studio with Moad. We started off a couple of weeks ago with the wonderful Andrew Wilson. Last week we had Ramakan Orwisters, who is on in attendance right now. And today we're able to hang out with Shenequa for a little bit. Shenequa is an artpreneur who received her Master's of Design in Fashion, Body and Garment at School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And she was under the mentorship of this person you may have heard of, Nick Cave, and also Liat Smestad. Her solo exhibition, Woven Narrative, was on view at Ha Contemporary Stockyards in Kansas City, Missouri, from September 20th to October 30th, 2019. She has exhibited her work in performing labor at Patricia Sweetow Gallery in San Francisco. Patricia, that's where we met. The Space We Grow Into a Woman Made Gallery in Chicago, Illinois, and Maine and Tail at the Luminary in St. Louis, Missouri, to just name a few. Yes, Nick Cave is the best. A featured artist for Ties That Bind in American Craft Magazine and in the Kansas City Star, she spoke about her process of weaving synthetic hair in relationship to the African American hair experience. 2014's Windgate Fellow at the Center for the Craft, Creativity, and Design. 2017 to 2018's recipient of the inaugural YoungArts Daniel Arsham Fellowship, presented by the Ridinger-McLaughlin Family. Mm-hmm. Shenequa continues to reflect, create, and expand the process of weaving beyond the loom. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness. I know I'm in the presence of greatness, but royalty, I would say, celebrity.
You know what? I claim all of that. Thank you so much. And, like-minded people think the same. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I love this opportunity to get to know more about these artists that I'm just such huge fans of. And so, I want to start off, can you tell us where you're at right now?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois.
I love Chicago.
Windy city.
Yeah. How was that going? Are you getting some wind?
Am I? Yeah, we definitely get that. I've been staying since quarantine, mostly inside. I only go out when needed, to be honest. And when I do go out, I make it in such a way that I go for walks to the grocery store to get my essentials, so I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. But the weather is looking really nice today, considering the bipolarness of the Midwest, let alone Chicago. So, yeah.
Well, I want to just thank you for everyone because, with this virus going out, you're not only keeping yourself safe, but everyone else around you. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
How are you feeling in general? I know different people are coping in, different ways with this, but how are you feeling?
I've been feeling good. I've been feeling really, really good. I make sure that I have certain things in play day to day for myself to just stay motivated. I think one thing that has kind of set me on a right track is being intentional about the conversations that I have with people and the energy that they bring towards me. I can only take positive energy. I can't deal with anything negative or pertaining to Rona. I know people are dying. I know all of this is happening. I don't watch the news. I don't, because for my own sanity and my own protection and the thought process in which I think it's best to keep it that way. So I'm tunnel vision. So if you're not on the same page like that, we're currently not communicating.
And I think that's something about you that I've come to know. And this is, at least from what I've seen of you, this is not a new thing. You have stayed positive and on the uplifting vibe ever since I just, I discovered you for myself. And I was just like, wow, every Instagram post and video that I, see is always uplifting.
Definitely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I mean, to be honest, I started doing that. So I've revamped my Instagram, and it's sort of a space, sort of like my diary. It's a blog where I just basically express how I feel. I'm vulnerable. I'm keeping it real with people. And it's really a motivation to myself. These are things that I'm feeling. So I'm like, why not share it with others? I don't know if they're going through it as well. I really target artists and creatives in particular. However, it's really set up for anyone from all walks of life, to be honest, and also to open up the platform to speak on behalf of artists and creatives out there, specifically being a woman of color operating in the world. That's very important to me. I mean, I'm breaking glass ceilings here. I'm creating new waves, and I'm not afraid to own that because it's unfamiliar territory. And it's important for me to bring in everyone with me to either shine a light on it, to support, to service, to protect, and encourage at the end of the day. I mean, we're kind of all in this whole Rona situation together, no matter where you are on the spectrum of it all. And it's really a time to basically reflect on who you are and what are you bringing to the world? What do you want? And that's kind of how I navigate, specifically this year in 2020. So yeah, that's kind of.
Well, we're here to talk primarily about your art practice. However, I do want to, I do want you to get a little bit more into the artpreneur thing before we get into your personal practice, because I think that's also an important piece. And I feel like I've watched that journey with you as you moved into that space. So.
Yes. So me stepping into being an artpreneur, actually this month will make it a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know the exact date. I have to look back. But a year ago, from this month on, I quit my corporate job.
Wow.
And yeah, my 9-to-5 paid me really well. However, I started to see myself creatively dwindle. I'm on a traditional path. My journey becoming into who I am today has been very traditional, being an artist. I was a part of a magnet middle school. I went to a performing arts high school. I did the undergrad, the master's, you name it. And along that journey, there were things lacking and there were things that I took away. And one thing that I wanted to walk away with most of all is, what does it really mean to be an artist myself? 100%. Not just the making process, I got that down, but how do I sell my work? How do I promote myself? What space do I want to be in? Who do I want a part of my cohort? Who do I want to bring into my circle? These are things that I'll constantly question. And I had to figure that out for myself. And me working full time did not allocate or made me feel 100% what that looks like. So what I did was I saved up. My mission was 6 months out to really explore that journey. I hired myself a life coach. And since then, I've been a different person, the way I move, the way I think about my life, and to know that I have control over all of that. So that's really me stepping into my, me being an artpreneur. Being an artist, we wait on things, we apply to things and we wait. It's a gamble. But being an artpreneur, you act and you do it based off of what you feel and how you want to move in your life. So that's how I'm moving now.
I love it.
Yes.
Wow, that is so inspiring. I hope to be on that journey a little bit soon in my life as well.
Baby steps, that's all.
Yeah. You spoke a little bit about life coaching, and I don't know if you want to talk about that aspect of what you're doing, but I've definitely noticed that as well.
Yes. So one thing I realized about myself, which I didn't know that I can make money off of until I heard of my coach, was I've always been a mentor. I feel comfortable talking. That's never been a thing. And I've always, as you stated, inspired people and motivate people, you know, but to me, that was the norm. I'm like, who don't do this, right? What are you talking about? Everybody does this. But then I realized everybody does it to me because I'm strategic about who I have in my circle. They motivate me. They inspire me. I didn't know in reality, girl, no, nobody has access to this. And I'm like, what you say? What? So it was foreign language to me. And then on my journey of hiring my life coach, she's like, yo, you could totally be a coach to coach artists, to coach the people you want to service. So I created content. I took the time to basically create content around servicing artists and creators of color to propel them into stepping into healing themselves, to love themselves more, and to do what they love with more love and make money for it. I feel like a lot of us are not doing that. A lot of us are doing the work, but we either have it in spaces we really don't want it to be in. We're not reaping 100% of our benefits from it as far as financially. And it's always some type of compromise in such a way that's kind of discouraging to keep going. It just makes it hard, right? So I created a program called Weave Your Dreams into Reality with Love. And it essentially breaks down all the things that I've had along my journey, even the struggles to get to where I'm at, to basically pass down in service. So a lot of people are like, how are you still doing it? How are you still encouraged to be an artist? I'm like, because I do whatever the hell I want when I want to. You know, I'm not a struggling or starving artist. And I think I'm breaking that fallacy or cliche. I refuse to wait till I'm 50 or 60 or dead in the ground for people to be like, oh my gosh, Shenequa, girl, you was doing things and blah, 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 blah. No, I want to heal while I'm alive and well to enjoy it. And I feel like that's what we all want to do. And we kind of weren't taught in school to do that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with everything.
And you radiated. You know, I know you're only one person, but for folks chiming in and just learning about you, can they? Do you still have room in your life coaching for life coaching clients, or how do people find out about it?
Yes, right now I'm actually have opened 5 more spots to take on and recruit. Clients, they can check me out. It's on my IG. In fact, if you follow me at SHE_NE_QUA, which is basically Shenequa. You can find it right there. The link is in the bio. You can also find it on my website at ShenequaAbrooks.com. One word. And yeah, it's a tab there. And I do a free clarity call for 30 minutes to really get to know the person, because this is the thing. I know people who want to work with me, but that doesn't mean that I want to work with you. And I think that's also important. It's not just me serving you, you're also serving me as well. And you're pouring into my cup as much as I'm pouring back into yours. And that is very important to me. So that time frame gives me clarity as well as you to see, are we compatible? Is this a thing? You know, at least to start the conversation. And from there it goes. But the deadline for that is the 27th of this month.
It's short time.
Throwing it out there, you know. So my whole thing is, this is what I enjoy doing, right? It flows. It flows within my art practice. It flows within me teaching. And that's important to me. I don't feel like I'm compromising anything. It just goes hand in hand. That's where I'm at right now.
So there's 5 slots. You have until the 27th if you're interested to apply. Today also dropped in both Shenequa's Instagram as well as her website into the chat box. Thank you for folks joining. Now that we've kind of talked about that experience, I want to go backwards a little bit and kind of think about your beginnings as an artist. I think for some people, there's this magical moment where you're like, this is my thing. I'm supposed to be an artist. For other people, it's a slower process. They end up in it, and some people were just, it was like they had a paintbrush in their hand the moment they were born. What is your story? How did you know that you wanted to be an artist?
Wow. I will say I knew the first time, because there were times where I didn't want to be an artist, and I'm keeping it 100%. The first time I felt like this is it for me is I was in high school. I went to New World School of the Arts, Performing Arts High School in Miami, Florida. That's where I was raised. And yeah, Sunshine State. Yes. And I remember having a conversation with my mentor / other mama / good friend, Lonnie Johnson. I broke down and cried outside of the sculpture room. And I was probably in the 11th grade at the time, getting ready for my portfolio for senior year and all of that. And all my friends left that I went from middle school to high school with. And now I felt alone for the most part. And, me being the only Black woman amongst a whole bunch of other, white people, it was kind of like, what is happening? I don't have nobody to really talk to. And Lonnie, who's a woman of color, she's Black. She saw me crying. She was like, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I've lost all my friends, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, do you really want to be an artist? Because there are going to be times you're going to be walking this road alone. Mm-hmm. And she had to talk with me. And that's when I realized, who are you doing this for? At a young age, like, girl, who are you doing this for? And that's when I was like, I'm doing it for me. So this is something I wanted to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to figure out what my language is within this whole field. It's so broad. And what stories do I want to say that's meaningful to me? And I would say 11th grade. Yeah, that's when I knew that I wanted to be an artist.
That's awesome. I love that. I love how it all came full circle. You had this mentor, that encouraged you, and also having a mentor that looks like you. That's so critical.
Exactly.
That can identify with you. We definitely need more in the world. So I'm glad you're filling that role for others.
Yes. Yes.
You're, both of us had the opportunity to live in Ghana for some time. I think you lived there a little bit longer than I did. I was there for a year. And
I didn't live there longer than you. Definitely lived there way longer than me.
But I think you've maybe been more times then.
I've only been there twice.
Okay. I've only been once.
Okay, but a year for once, you still outdid me.
But we know, in the United States, I think African Americans especially know of kente cloth. I certainly had a wrapper when I graduated high school, and I also had one when I graduated college. Okay. And it's this thing that represents our Africanness for us. How does kente cloth play out in your work? And it's a big question.
That is a very big question. I'm going to try my best to really dwindle it down and give you the essence. But first and foremost, I've always loved, since I was a kid, textiles from the continent. I've always loved African textiles. And one thing in my undergrad at Kent Art Institute, I took an African art study course, and it was taught by a white woman, which I find very intriguing as well, but we ain't gonna go there. And during that journey, I was able to learn the history of Africa and textiles and art in general. And as I'm looking at these textiles, I'm just like, oh my God, how do I do this? By that point, I was studying fibers and textiles. So I'm really like, ooh, wee. And I knew it was important for me to go there to learn. I couldn't learn from anyone in the US. Even if you did have experience with that, I had to be engulfed in the culture because that's how I'm informed as an artist. Mm-hmm. And I knew that what I was looking at wasn't just any type of textiles, it was specifically in Ghana. Okay. And that's when I started doing my research, and I just never stopped. And then when I was awarded my grant, the Windgate Fellowship grant, I was like, this is it. I just graduated, and then I flew out there in 2014 for 3 months. And it was
Wow.
like everything aligned. Everything from my hostess, Grandma Hilaria. She's great. I basically built a community, a family of people out there. And it was just great. Sebastian Dye, who was my weaving teacher, master weaver. Oh my God, just beautiful. Just dope. Everything about it was just like, I need to be here. Like, I'm called here beyond me learning to weave. And that's when I was just like, yeah, this place holds a special place in my heart, always.
Well, I think it's incredible that you were not just inspired by the kente, but you went and studied under a master weaver, completely embedded yourself in this. So you have, I know that there's a language in your art that not everybody can understand, because there is a language in kente that you intimately know in a way that most of us do not know. Can you talk a little bit more about that, or whatever you want to share from that?
So, that learning, I have so much respect. So much respect. I mean, I got sick doing this process, guys. No, seriously. I got a hemorrhoid. I got all types of sicknesses. And it wasn't to say, it's just one of those things where my body physically, because men are traditionally weavers. Yeah. And so they customly built me a loom.
Wow.
Which was basically an apparatus which you learn how to basically weave on. And when the loom came, Sebastian helped put it together. And I'm over here weaving, but my thighs are too big. So my thighs are rubbing against the lower bar, in which once I finish weave the cloth, it wraps around. And I'm just like, this isn't going to work. So then he had to get a craftsman who literally carved me out a new one to basically measure my thighs.
Wow.
So I have my loom, I still have it here. And with me in the US, I brought it back with me, but it's specifically built for my body. So that's number one. So I learned a closer relationship with the loom and me and my hands moving. I learned so many different textiles. I was only there for 3 months. I wove literally 7 days out of the week, every day. He was no joke. When I say master, he was like, he literally tested me. He was like, I did not think you was going to last. We went out 2 weeks after I got acclimated. We went to some bar, and he's like, I really didn't think, I thought you was going to quit. And can I just say, I'm the first African-American woman he's ever taught in over, he's been doing it since he was 8, professionally in his early 20s. And right now he's like in his late 40s, early 50s. So I'm the first African-American he's ever. So for that, that's another thing that was just like mind-blowing on both pages. Because when I first learned how to weave, I was taught by a woman. So this is the first African male to teach me how to do something that I love to do. So I'm like also looking like, you sure you know what you're doing too? Because I'm a little like cocky in my head, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. No idea. There were times, because when I naturally weave, I start by looking at a pattern and I create that pattern and I follow that pattern. But then I do my own thing, because that's the artist, that's the creativity in me. I'm like, So as I'm like learning the technique that he's teaching me, I'm like going off script, and he's like, no. And I'm like, what? And he's like, no, finish, completely finish. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, would not budge. So I had no choice but to take the patience out and learn how to weave it in its entirety. So if we warped on 3 yards, I had to weave the entire 3 yards with the same exact pattern. When I say the struggle was real, I was like, Sebastian, there were times where I just sat out and he finished it because we had to move on to the next pattern I had to learn. So that's another thing, is that we did them step by step. According to him, between the alphabet A through Z, I've only reached to C.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's wild.
Within 3 months. I wove literally at least 10 to 15 patterns.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people don't necessarily realize unless you're studying, traditional African arts. You don't know that it's that complicated. You think there's kente and it's just this thing. It's just the fabric.
Nah, I have nothing but respect for the craft, because they're naturally craftsmen, right?
Yeah,
What they naturally do, what they use it for is functionality. You know, they wear it for specific occasions, ceremonial services, whatever. They have intent. There's a story behind each cloth that's woven, based off the colors you use, everything down to the bare bone of how it's brought up is a part of that story. And that's what intrigued me. And that's when I knew textiles was an outlet for me to share my personal stories and experiences without overcompensating. Like, everything that I'm going through is poured into this piece, and I'm able to showcase it to the viewer. And then the beauty of it is the conversation for me is that everyone sees something different. Everyone is able to go through a childhood memory, go somewhere with it. And that's when I'm like, boom, I did my job. Because that's what's intriguing to me. You know, it's beyond the beauty for me. So, yeah.
And for folks who haven't seen her work, you know, please, I'm excited to see who's on here right now. Sorry. For folks who haven't seen her work, you know, please go to her Instagram. Please go to her website. I don't know if you can get the full sense of the scale of the work. I know for me, when I saw it online, I was like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. I don't know the intimate stories behind it, but I know what I find aesthetically pleasing. And then I want to know a little bit deeper into it. But when I saw that work in person, I was just blown away. The scale, you can see, you know, the intimate details. And I also want to talk about the materiality of your work, because I think you also have this very unique choice in your integration of hair into the weaving. Can you talk about that, please?
So when I first started using synthetic hair, my intention was, my very first weaving as far as a project was in its entirety with hair. And that was how do I put it? It was basically a conversation that I had with my sister, my younger sister, Takia. And the relationship dynamics we had growing up and how we are today in our relationship. It was very important to me to use hair because that was the way we would only communicate. Outside of her braiding and doing my hair, we were always butt heads. And that was basically, I literally cried days, because I worked on that piece for 2.5 weeks in its entirety, because it was important for me to finish it completely with using hair, because I knew that I was releasing what I was going through and the story that I wanted to say in that piece. And once I knew that, from that point on, it was play. It was just playing with material and seeing what can you really do with this thing. So in my undergrad, I really went in and I explored weekly. I set up weekly projects for myself using hair. I even started making prints with them. The braids that I would braid, I would make garments. I started make that hairdress, man, till this day. People are going like, how did you do that? Play. And then that's when I started to really, and this is just me naturally, this is what comes to mind. I'm not overthinking things. It just flows. And I'm able to understand that, okay, I was raised in a Caribbean home, you know, women all around me, Black women. I got my hair done because my aunt owned a hair salon at the time. I got my hair done almost on a weekly to 2-weekly basis. So I lived in the hair salon. You know what I mean? And if the hair salon was in a physical space, it was in my home. Or it was in other people's homes, such as my, you know, childhood friends or people who, everyone knew how to do hair in my community, in my, you know, my life. So braiding and that was all brought up with me. I know how to braid, you know. So that was something that I seen. That was something, and just seeing what comes out of these women coming together, these beautiful Black independent women coming together, just sharing their stories, talking all kind of stuff, gossiping, you name it. And it was also beyond that. It was a healing that occurred. It was a safe space for you to just do you. And that kind of carried through the work as well, naturally. And then from there, after I got back from Ghana, it was just like, oh, I'm going to really go in on some other stuff and add another layer to this story. And just really honing in on my craft and kind of, just learning. You were never too old to learn. So it's just piggybacking and keeping open-mindedness about it. So, yeah.
Can you tell us about your thesis project?
For because I have
okay. I've seen the one project where you actually did the work in the salon.
Oh, okay. So that's my undergrad. So synthetic
ties. Undergrad, okay.
Yes. So synthetic ties was my very first solo exhibition. That was really fun. I knew it had to be in a hair salon. And I wanted it to be interactive. So I basically staged the hairstylist, who was the hairstylist and who was the client. I made sure it was all women of color on both parties because that was important to the storyline and the concept of it all. And I had, I don't even know how many pieces because I literally, I was just producing like crazy. I never knew I was like a machine at that time. Now I can look back at it like, girl, you was really cranking out work. I had about like seven to 10 works. And at that time, they were not as big scale that I'm working now in, but it was big enough for me. Being a full-time student, anybody that go to art school know. But yeah, synthetic ties was really a huge stepping stone and also a curve to where the direction I wanted to go in as an artist. And to know that this work is really stirring the pot. It's not traditional, it's different. Because I never realized that either. I had to acknowledge that this is a new territory. And I'm starting a new conversation within these white walls or these other spaces, these museums, these galleries, to really hone in on a deeper conversation. So, yeah. That kind of wraps it up.
Yeah. How has your work changed? And in more recent times, I noticed, you started off, from what I saw your work. When was the show at Pat Sweetow? Was that a year and a half ago?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, performing labor. Yeah.
Yeah. So that work. You had a more muted tone. You had more muted tones within your work, and you started integrating, bright colors. And now I notice a shift. And from what I see online.
Okay, so this woven narratives is the next shift for me. Woven narratives is essentially a concoction of my Caribbean roots, my Ghanaian experience, and the direction I'm in now and the woman I am now, all wrapped in one. When I started making that work, I was transitioning from my corporate job to a full-time Artpreneur. Okay. And I made that body of work in 3 months or 3.5 months.
Wow.
And yeah, I was not joking or playing. And that was my first time actually incorporating 100% full-blown color into my work. So it was a lot of fun to just go to the studio and just like go in. I mean, the way I set up and do things, it was a new feeling because it's based on how I'm feeling that day. And that's what I love about weaving as the foundation or the tool to make my work is I don't see it in its full entirety until I'm done completely weaving and I'm able to take it off of the loom. In the meantime, I'm just seeing snapshots.
Oh, wow.
Weaving it. Yeah, those detail shots I post on my IG is what I'm seeing too.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't cheat myself. I don't, go back in and be like, oh, what did I do before? No, I'm very honest about the way that I'm making. So when literally I took that piece off of the looms, those works off the loom, I was literally like, yo, this is by far my best work for me. For me, like I've reached the pinnacle of like artistry that I want in my work. This is it. Like whatever I was going through, whatever I was talking about, it is all here in this work. Like I'm in love with that work. Like literally, I had to, so once I'm done weaving, I hide my work from myself. Like I wrap it up and I put it somewhere in my home. Seriously, I have to hide it because I needed to give myself some time to really breathe, to really kind of look at it from another lens. So I take about a week and a half, and I'm either working on something else or just living my best life. And I come back and then I, look at it again and I'm able to groom it. I go through different phases and I'm able to do my final touches. I'm able, if I want to add accessories, I do that. If I want to, I don't know, whatever feels right and adds to the piece, I do. And I know when to stop as well, because I feel like sometimes simple is best. And if I'm gonna go too much, I'll have to go all the way too much. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt like making that work. Because It's Carnival is the last piece in that collection, which is the massive, that's the largest piece I've ever done to date. I don't even know how big that is off the top of my head, but it's way bigger than me. And I'm 5'8". It's a huge piece, and that is where I incorporated actual kente cloth that I wove abroad. So it's literally a collage of like everything. I was scared as hell to make that piece. I was super uncomfortable making that piece. However, I knew I just had to go through that and just make. And that's what I loved about that whole body of work. I didn't plan anything, which I normally kind of don't plan. I've learned that a long time ago not to plan when making my work, because the beauty is me just going what feels right at the time, and what's intentional to make is what works for me. And yeah, so Woven Narratives is full-blown color. In fact, I'm going backwards again in recent new work that I'm doing now. Not to say I'm not going back to color, but you just have your moments and what feels right.
Okay.
So yeah.
Can you is there anything that you can show us today?
Yeah. So I have posted these on my IG, but I will just show you guys. So these are one of the pieces these are works that I've made this year.
Wow.
So as you can see, the see-throughness, I love that aspect of it. So this is a piece right here, and I don't know the name of this collection, but this collection is really black on black with hints of gold.
And is that all hair?
No, it's hair and other fibers such as cotton, polyester, different blends. So I have yarn in there too. I even have like other crazy little weird materials that I have just sitting in my apartment at the time that it feels right to add. This is the other piece, which is more. I'm
gonna stop my video so folks can get a bigger picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can see all the patterns in there. And so
I love this break between here because you're able to see it even more.
Yeah.
Like, little break right here.
So as you're approaching the loom, you have no plan when you're starting out. You just jump right in.
So when I approach the loom, what I do is I have I kind of plan in such a way where I have a pattern in mind. So I create my own pattern off of existing patterns that interest me. So I go into Weave Maker, which is a software where you can make custom patterns in. And I utilize that. And that's sort of like my jump off point to kind of scale mathematically, like how wide this piece is going to be. and how long it's going to be. And once I get that situated, then I start by looking at so probably like a good couple few inches, 6 inches or so, I actually follow the pattern. But outside of that, once I get in the groove of it, my head starts going and I'm on a whole nother page.
Wow.
Whole nother page. But now I stopped weaving off of the loom right now because I just got tired of doing that. And I've gone back. I don't know if you ever saw my collection, My Love Is Your Love, where I have an image of my niece, Manaya, and I. And right now,
I do remember those, but yeah, it would be great to see those.
So actually, I have that piece away, but right now I'm working on another piece where I'm adding the women in my life that I love and I care about to that series, that collection. So I'm capturing these women in environments that exude joy and happiness for them. So right now I'm working and I have detailed shots of this, which I'm almost done with it, but I'm working on an image of my grandmother right now.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And so the thing with this that I love is it gives me the opportunity to look at weaving from a different way because I did not physically hand weave this. I outsourced it. Okay. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking it apart, I'm collaging and I'm playing, doing different things to it. I did weave this part though. This is her shirt.
That's incredible.
It's white on white, hand woven. So you really can't see any detail unless you see it in person. But yeah. So right now I'm like in this world because I get tired of, I have moments where I don't want to physically do weave or I want to just do something completely different. I want to approach it from a different lens. But that's kind of the headspace I'm in now. I'm working between these two bodies of work as we speak. And it's just been fun and healing and engaging and just exciting. I'm always wanting to work every day. So I'm on a track. I'm on a good track.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah. I'm inspired and I'm like, oh, I need to work even half as hard as Shenequa is working right now. I want to shift over and invite attendees to please drop into our chats and also into the Q&A for your questions, also your comments. I'm going to ask a couple of them by Paul Henderson. I'm glad that you are so glad that you are here. I know I love when it's like, oh, I've seen your work, but now I get to actually see you or interact with you. I will let Shenequa answer this, but he is curious to know who you think are good up-and-coming artists that people can discover and collect that aren't yet out of the regular people price points. So do you have communities of other artists that people should know about that are not necessarily, selling for tens of thousands of dollars?
Yeah. I'm saying yeah because I don't know their price points really either.
Right.
A lot of artists who are doing and making, and I'm more than happy, Paul, to share that list with you because right now I'm kind of not there 100%. I know my friend Khalil Irving is dope. Daryl is coming to mind, and this is another thing is that during this time, I don't even know if they're making. I feel like a lot of people are transitioning and figuring out what they're doing right now, and I'm trying to think of people who are making. Jabari is doing great things. Jefferson. Who else? I mean, there's a lot of people, and I know I'm blanking on a lot of people's names, but I can get a list. But definitely, and that's the beauty of me being an artist too, is that I have so many talented and amazing friends doing great things, and I can't wait to own my house on my island.
Yeah, right.
And then have their work up in there. Like my friend Crystal, who made these amazing shibori works behind me right here. Yeah, she's doing great things too and getting herself together in her studio. I mean, I have a few people's work up, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know, but I'll get it together, Paul. and I'll send it to you.
I also want to say, what I appreciated was at Performing Labor at Pat Sweetow's gallery. Most of your pieces were large scale and had some commas in the prices. But I really appreciated that you also had these intimate, I don't know if they were studies.
Those were my weekly or whatever that I was just playing around with. Yeah, those are my works. Honestly, that body of work came from my undergrad.
Okay, so, and I know people snatched those up within the first hour. So I don't know if you have other pieces like that people can acquire. Do you have gallery representation right now?
I'm right now, for the year of September will be the end of the contract with Hall Contemporary. So they have works from my Woven Narratives collection available online at hallcontemporary.com. But I have works here with me. That's another thing. I've been updating my website. That's during this quarantine time. I'm clearing out shop and I'm literally looking at other works. And even interested in making smaller works that are accessible for others to acquire and collect. Because I know Paul has one of my older works he collected sometime last year. So, I'm definitely keeping my radar up. But yeah, regularly my works are in the thousands.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have dedicated yourself to being an artist full time, and how long does a piece, like some of the ones that you showed us just now, and I know artists typically hate this question, but just to get a sense, like how many hours are you spending per piece?
I honestly don't calculate it by hours. I'm gonna keep it 100. I tried and I kept up with so much, and then it was a thing where I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that.
I know you said 2.5 weeks for one piece, but I'm like, okay, was that you working around the clock? What was that
exactly
like?
No, that's not me working around the clock. That's literally me taking breaks. I get into zones where I'm like, oh, I'm here working, and I'm doing it. Sometimes I forget to eat and I'm really in it. And then there's days where I'm like, nah, I'm good. And it's looking right at me. And I'm like, not today. So I'm very honest when it comes to that. I don't force myself to make. Even with a deadline, I give myself the time that's needed to do what needs to get done. But I don't force myself. So normally on average, when I made Woven Narratives, though, I was working around the clock because I was intending on making a completely different body of work and all that. But right now, I'm making for making's sake. And those two pieces that I showed you that were hand woven, those took me about a month to make on and off, not around the clock. And then the one that I'm working on now literally took me, it's like going on a week now that I've been working on it, and I'm wrapping that up. So it'll be like around a week and a half, give or take. And that's me working every day for a good, I would say 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, make it a job. We have the wonderful Rachel Kabakala on, an amazing curator for folks that don't know her. And she has this awesome question. She wants to hear more about your technique for creating My Love Is Your Love from 2016. And in particular, how did you create the loose strands behind the figures?
So first question being what? Because I caught the second one. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. The technique for creating My Love Is Your Love in 2016.
So again, when I was going into, because I made that piece transitioning to my second year of my master's degree. So Nick, being my mentor and teacher, he's aware of what I'm capable of doing and told me not to do those things. And I didn't weave for a complete whole year. I was doing all kinds of other things outside of weaving. And then I had to have that heart-to-heart conversation, like, if you want me to create a body of work, I have to weave something. So before I had that conversation, it was during the summer, and I was in the studio, and I'm like, you know what, I have no access to these things right now, but how can I take something apart? So I outsourced I actually, I went through Walmart and they're doing, yeah, I did that. And I wanted to start off with the image of my niece and I have her, it was at her christening. And I'm literally like lifting her up to make her laugh and smile. And my cousin caught the image of me doing that. And it was very striking image, captivating on so many levels and relatable to, I feel anybody have access to tap into that story or what that could be just by looking at us together in that moment. So immediately I was like, okay, cool, boom, that's going to be the image. But then when it came in the mail, I hated the background. That orange was disgusting. And I was like, I'm taking this out. So what I did is I took it apart. I took the entire background out completely by hand. And that took a while, a long time, because I didn't want to distort or damage the actual image of her and I. And since it's the vocal point, it took up the entire piece. And then from there, I felt a lot better to even look at it. And because I'm looking at this thing for periods of time. And then that's when I was like, okay, I want to embellish. But I knew I didn't want to do too much because what was said is already done. And that's when I just added the little headband, and that was that. So that's how that piece came about.
And then there was also questions about the loose strands behind the figures.
That's me essentially taking the threads apart. So I took out the orange. Is it orange? No, yellow and red. I took that apart because that's what made the orange color background. And I basically kept what naturally happens when you take it apart, as you can see, because I'm doing it right now with this piece right here. See, see, that's what I'm
doing. Okay.
And then this is what's left. This is the actual, so this is what you call the warp. This is what you call the warp. And then these colorful parts are the weft. So that's what goes in with the shuttle, but this is what's actually warp tied on to your loom.
Okay, that's awesome. And it definitely takes you knowing the technique of weaving to be able to do something
definitely
like that.
To take it apart, or what you would end up doing is the whole thing would just be a whole bunch of threads just lying in your apartment.
That kind of, for me, that conjures up the works of like Sonia Clark and her unweaving the American flag.
Exactly.
It kind of leads into Paul's second question about who are your current influences? Is Sonia one of your influences?
Sonia's always been my influence. Definitely. Sonia, Nick Cave. That's why I came out to Chicago to work with him as my influence. Sony Ruffin is also my influence. Nedra Bonds. Who else? I mean, I look at influences from all kinds of people outside of that works with fibers as well. Like my influence is just the women in my life that the conversations I hold with them on a day-to-day. I extrapolate. I write down notes if it's a word I like. That's also my influence. I'm very big on writing. My sketchbook is filled with writing, more so than actual images or visuals. Landscape is my inspiration. Yeah, I love that stuff. Me walking, going on walks, looking at buildings, looking at a shape. I'm very big into geometric shapes naturally. So that captivates me. Being in the Caribbean is a huge inspiration. My roots, baby, till I die. Always an inspiration. I mean,
I'm jealous of that.
The body, water, sand, a palm tree, and some sun is where that's where Shenequa thrives. Okay, and delicious Caribbean, authentic Caribbean cuisine is where I thrive.
Okay, now you got me hungry, ready for vacation.
Right? So they have all of that too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the inspiration. For real, and just the journey that I'm taking on my self-love journey and just being the better version of myself is a part of that as well. So yeah.
I love it. I just I don't think I see any other questions coming through. But can you definitely, in our last couple of minutes, tell us what's next for you? How can folks, I know we're in quarantine now. Hopefully, it's lifting soon. How can folks see your work in person?
So I'm working on that. I'm working on finding a space outside of a gallery or even a museum to best house these new bodies of work, because that's what it needs. So I'm searching and brainstorming on what that actually looks like. But for right now, it's just me just making for the love of making. And then, me doing my coaching and servicing other artists of colors, where the realm that I'm in right now that's best serving. Yeah.
Awesome. And so you said outside of a gallery or museum,
are you thinking more of a personal space, something more home like, nostalgic. Especially for My Love Is Your Love, that needs that. This other body of work that I'm doing, black and gold trimming kind of vibe, I think, I don't know where that will be best housed right now. I'm not objectifying it being in a gallery museum. That's not what I'm saying. But what I want to do is intentionally plan to have it in a space outside of that, where others in the community can be a part of. It's in their space. So that's something that I'm thinking of. I've been living in Chicago for about 5 years now, going this year. And I'm on the South Side. I'm in Bronzeville, predominantly Black. However, gentrification is real, so it's a different vibe. But nevertheless, it's predominantly Black. So I'm trying to tap into it being hosted or being housed on the South Side specifically. And what does that look like? And if it is in a gallery, who are those people and what does that space represent? So that's kind of where I'm channeling these two bodies of work being housed, because I wanted to add to the story. So yeah, that's where I'm thinking.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are always inspirational.
Thank you. I try.
You are. You don't have to try very hard. Very, very inspiring. I want to be like you when I grow up. For folks, today has dropped links into our chat panel. Thank you so much, Rachel. Also, for folks on who are joining us from Facebook or also YouTube, what are some other places they can look since they can't see our chat panel?
So for me, Instagram. I live on Instagram, so please follow me. You will know the ins and the outs from my story to the actual grid at SHE_NE_QUA. I have 2 Facebooks. I have Shenequa. Yeah, I have Shenequa, which is my strictly art related Facebook. And then my regular Facebook that I've had since I got Facebook, Shenequa Brooks. Yeah, either one, but mainly follow Shenequa, the artist page that I have, and my website. Please look at that, because so many people ask me my journey, and I literally I'm updating it now, and it's literally an archive of just where I started to like more recent work, and you can see the storyline and how the works have developed. So check that out at ShenequaAbrooks.com, one word. But yeah, those are the platforms that I'm living on right now.
All right. Thank you so much again. I also want to just remind everyone, please tune in again next week. We will have the fantastic Bisa Butler in the same day and slot. I know, I'm so excited.
No, this is deja vu.
Right?
I love Bisa. Love her work. She's like my new muse right now, and never met her in person. But she did comment on one of my images, and it almost made me cry. Her so bad. She's so sweet. I've actually, seen her talk live and everything, and I'm just like, That's definitely the next thing. I would love.
Please tune in. We may be able to drop you in.
I'm manifesting a collaboration with
Yes.
So if she hears this and watches this, and I will definitely be tagging her in this. Manifest.
I will live for that one. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Shenequa.
Thank you.
All right. So much love and respect for you.
Oh, same, hon. Same.
Have a wonderful one.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.